Hey, this week I'm going to be doing a recipe from the Dehydrator Cookbook for Outdoor Adventures by Julie Mosier. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm going to be trying the Mediterranean Tofu Scramble. And there's also, at the end of the recipe, a version of it to use white beans instead of tofu. So since for all the backpacking meals that I've been doing, I'm doing a double recipe, I figured I'd make one version with tofu and the other version with white beans. Alright, I have pretty much all of the ingredients here. Something that I've done with some of these past recipes is I don't have like the perfect amount of ingredients or substitute something. Like ultimately it doesn't make that big of a difference. I need like a red onion, like a fourth of a cup, but I have like this much left of a white onion. Like I'm not sure it would really make that much of a difference to substitute that. And then I might not have enough of the artichoke hearts. There might be a little bit, the amount of ounces that are in here, I'll be a little bit short on artichoke hearts. But, I don't know, it's just going to end up being a little bit more of my own recipe, but I have basically all the ingredients here. Okay, it sounds like the first thing I have to do is to drain the tofu. The recipe had a specific suggestion on how to do this. I don't have much experience working with tofu, so hope this goes well. Also, with my bad history of eating expired foods, this tofu went bad while I was waiting around to get going on this recipe, so it's expired by a couple days, but assuming it's probably still gonna be okay. This is so hard to open. I'm gonna have to use a knife for this. Oh, it's a tough packaging. Yeah, oh there it goes. Ah, that's a lot. Alright, it's like really pouring out. Alright, I think it's safe to open now. This is a soft tofu. The recipe says soft is better. I'm not sure really how much of a difference it really makes. Oh, that's a big block of tofu. And some paper towels. Like afraid this cutting board's gonna just like fly into the sink. Alright, so paper towels, plates. It said rice. I'm gonna just put the box of salt on top. You just gotta let it like squeegee out, I guess. It says at least 45 minutes, so this might take a while. I'll be back in 45 minutes. Okay, it's been 45 minutes. Paper towel's pretty wet. Looks like it's been draining. I guess the whole block is like overall a lot more dry. Very spongy. I almost want to just like take a bite into it. I don't think it's gonna taste good in season though. Okay, it sounds like the next thing I have to do is mix this up with the different seasonings. It says mix with the seasoning, so my guess is that I have to break it up and like mash it. So I guess I'll give that a try. I kind of figured it'd have to be cubed or something like that, but I guess mashing it up it is. Right, since I'm also doing a version with the beans, I took the white beans and drained and rinsed them and then added the seasoning. It doesn't specify if they have to be mashed or not, but if this is supposed to be like a scramble, like I think it's supposed to resemble scrambled eggs, so my guess is to mash them up too, so I'll also be doing that. I mashed up the tofu a bunch, and it surprisingly looks like scrambled eggs now. I think that was the goal. I mean, this is supposed to be a scramble, so it has definitely has the scrambled eggs look. I also, for the white beans, I ended up deciding to take a potato masher and mash them up. Now it looks a little bit more like mashed potatoes, honestly, but I'm thinking that that'll be better than just having like chunks of beans trying to represent scrambled eggs. The recipe didn't specify, so that's what I'm working with. I'm really surprised about how with the turmeric mixed in, the tofu really looks like scrambled eggs. The yellow just like really makes it look yellow, like egg yellow. And right now I am working on chopping up the onions as well. Okay, I added in the onion and pepper. Okay, this is a pretty big pan already, but it's wanting me to put this entire 8-ounce bag of spinach in here, and it's all just kind of falling out. I don't know how I'm supposed to wilt it all when there's this much spinach. I'm really thinking I should have wilted the bag, all the spinach before I started mixing it in, because now there's just like too much. I don't know why they'd want me to just dump it all in, because honestly this is kind of crazy. Well, there's the rest of it, but here we go, I guess. This is ridiculous. I'm like worried about burning the tofu underneath. Alright, now it's getting there. It was just really overwhelming at first, but it's starting to look pretty good now. Alright, I have the rest of the ingredients in here, but I'm realizing now that I'm reading the recipe a little bit more carefully, the tofu was supposed to be removed, and then I was supposed to cook the rest of this stuff. And now add the tofu. So I guess that would have been mostly an empty pan with the spinach in it. I have learned for next time when I'm doing the beans, so I still have to do the beans version of it. I've also found that it's better to have all the ingredients prepped ahead of time, like already processed and chopped, and then have it ready to add in, because in this recipe it was like this: 1 minute, then add this next ingredient that's supposed to be already like chopped, like the peppers already needed to be thinly sliced, but I just didn't have them ready, so I had to keep popping this off of the heat because I like wasn't prepared for it. So when I do the bean version, then I'm going to have all of that ready ahead of time. This is going to be round 2 of actually doing this correctly, hopefully. So adding in my oil. And my onions. Alright, now I'm going to add the spinach at the correct time this time. It's a lot more room in the pan, that's for sure. I didn't like horribly mess up. Although that's still a lot of spinach, I must say. Alright, this is looking like it makes a lot more sense now. I just have to cook this for just like a minute or 2 longer, and then I'll add the beans. Okay, it's bean time. I guess the same thing with the beans. The turmeric just kind of makes it look a lot more like scrambled eggs. Although, now that I'm mixing it in, I'm wondering if it maybe should have been kept as beans rather than a bean paste. Alright, I've got a feeling that I'm not gonna like the bean one very much. Looking at how pretty the tofu one looks compared to what I just made here with the beans. I think the beans were a mistake. This is kind of gross. Oh no. Oh no. Well, at least for the mistakes that I make with dehydrating food, It, well, when you're on the trail, everything tastes better than it does in everyday life. So even if it might be a little gross, you might be more inclined to eat it anyways, just because you're hungry and you want to eat everything. Yeah, this is... It also extremely strongly smells like the olives, and I'm not a huge olive person, so I'm wondering if I should have left those out. Because maybe it smells a little bit too much like the olives. Alright, well, I guess that's that. Time to start dehydrating it. Alright, this recipe calls for using the solid trays. So a lot of the different dehydrators come with like a solid tray, so like the stuff doesn't fall through between the holes. Now I only have 6 of these, so I'm going to use 3 for each of these, and hopefully I can fit all the stuff I just made on 3 trays. If not, I might have to do 2 rounds of dehydrating this stuff. Particularly for this one, since it looks so much like a paste. I just kind of get it on there and spread it around. The thinner the layer you do, the faster it'll dehydrate. So if you put too much on a tray, it'll take a lot longer than what like a recipe calls for. And honestly, I think that's probably enough for this tray, but let's see if I could squeeze on a little bit more. Ah, I missed. Not the most coordinated person, that's for sure. Alright, I've got both trays loaded. This side is all the white bean and this side is all the tofu. I'm going to shake back in on them in 6 hours, is what the recipe book calls for, and see how they're doing. So the food is now dry. It took way longer than the recipe was saying that it would. The recipe said 6 hours. This took more like 15 hours. It was mostly the peppers took so long to dry, and it's really important that they're like fully dry, and then when you try to bend them in half, they don't just like bend. Like if there's moisture in them, and they could flex, but now these peppers are like completely dry, because when you break them in half, they just kind of crumble or actually snap. And that's like what you want to make sure everything is fully dry. So I feel really satisfied that all of this is dry now. And the next step is to bag everything up. So I have a bunch of bags like this, where I have this is like a robust Ziploc bag. I haven't used these before, but I think that it'll be better than regular Ziploc bags, like a little bit sturdier, because sometimes those leak or like something might puncture them in my pack. So I like to write down like exactly what it is, the calories, the amount of protein, and at the bottom how much water for how long. So this is like a half a cup of water for 15 minutes. And like at least to have some sort of information. I know that on the AT, and I think the PCT too, like some people would like have dehydrated meals and then leave them in the hiker box. But then it'll be like something like someone else will grab it and have absolutely no idea what it is at all. Like I know somebody grabbed a package of dried lasagna thinking it was jerky and just bit into it. It was a really big mistake because it was not jerky. But I mean, even just for myself, because a lot of them will start to look similar, just having just like dried up foods, it's kind of hard to tell what's what and what you're supposed to do with it, because 5 months from now I'm not going to remember that this is specifically the bean tofu scramble and that I need to put specifically a half a cup of hot water, boiling water into this bag. Like I'm just not going to remember that. I'm just like a forgetful person, and I've already done that a few times where I'm just like, wait, I need more information, like what's in here? So that's definitely my recommendation, is to make sure things are actually labeled, even though it might just seem kind of monotonous just writing everything down. It definitely helps in the long run, and you'll thank yourself later. So something that I found super useful in getting this stuff into bags is using a flexible cutting board like this, because just trying to pinch this or just trying to get in the bag, it's going to fall everywhere and it's going to be a mess. So what I find is helpful if you could just dump it onto like this big sheet, and that just comes off so much easier. You don't have to worry about spreading everywhere. And then this way you could like fold this and use that to pour into the bag or just organize it better. So I'm going to use a small scale to weigh it, so I know that I have like this in 4 equal parts, especially since we did 3 trays instead of 4. And each of these batches have 4 meals in them. So that way I know that they are pretty even. Because once they're dry, it's actually a little bit hard to tell, like to visually tell like how much you have. Well, it's interesting how these like all stick together in these fun shapes. Yeah. Okay, so here's my little kitchen scale. I just like went through and divvied them up, and I kind of just like weigh them and weigh them again just to make sure they're all like about the same weight. They're all within like a 0.1 ounce apart, so like I feel pretty good about them being even right now. The scale's a little sensitive. There we go. So like this one's 1.5. They're all about 1.5 or 1.4. So yeah, it's a perfect little portion right here. Okay, I have all of my Mediterranean scrambles packaged up. One thing that I forgot to mention, that it's really important for whatever you've dehydrated to fully cool off before you package them, because then you can get more moisture just from the heat inside the bags. So they had been sitting out for like an hour or two to make sure that they fully dried out. And I'm excited to try these on the trail shortly. I leave in less than a month, so this will be fun. They look really good.